The Cook County Courthouse, located on 2600 South California Avenue, sits on an expansive 96-acre complex next to the Cook County Jail, the largest single-site prison in the United States. The neoclassical-styled building, which first opened in 1929, was designed by Eric Edwin Hall and constructed by Hall, Lawrence, and Ratcliffe Incorporated for $7.5 million. Its construction was initially proposed in the early 1920s, however, when the city's previous courthouse and jail, Courthouse Place, was becoming immensely overcrowded. Chicago's crime rates had skyrocketed during this decade, much in part due to the start of Prohibition in 1920. This gave way to a network of organized crime across the city that thrived on the illegal sale of alcohol. The most prominent gang during this period was the Chicago Outfit, ran by mobster Al Capone. As his power grew over these few years, so did the city's violence. Shootouts and bombings littered Chicago's streets, but of all these events, nothing shocked the public as much as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. On this day, Capone's henchmen, disguised as police, had lined up and killed 7 members of an opposing gang. This stirred public outcry on an international scale, calling on Chicago to answer for its ineptitude in fighting crime. Thus, with the austerity of its neoclassical design, the Cook County Courthouse will give the city a chance to reestablish its identity and improve its reputation from international infamy. In striving for this goal, much of the inspiration for the courthouse's design was taken from classical sources, particularly ancient Rome. The courthouse itself was constructed with Indiana limestone and has an interior comprised of marble, oak, and plaster. One of its more prominent features is the row of Doric columns built into the entrance. Just above these there stands a corresponding set of reliefs. Designed by sculptor Peter Toneman, these figures stand for law, justice, liberty, truth, might, love, wisdom, and peace, respectively. Their Latin translations are inscribed on different corners of the building, with Veritas meaning truth and Justitia meaning justice displayed on the front of the courthouse. Furthermore, the reliefs representing law, truth, and might each feature fasces, a symbol representing the authority of a judge's power. Carved above these is a row of linked bison heads decorating the building's crown. These reliefs are known as bucrania, or oxen skulls, which in many ancient Greco-Roman structures signified sacrifice. As bison heads, however, they are represented here as truly American. Similarly, the courthouse features daunting bison heads hanging above its entryways. They are decorated with classical headpieces featuring maze-like patterns, which evokes the Greek myth of the labyrinth and the Minotaur. According to the myth, the Minotaur was a creature with the body of a man and head of a bull. It was born to Minos, the king of Crete, by his wife Pasiphae as a punishment from the gods. Ashamed of this beast, Minos had a labyrinth built to keep the Minotaur hidden away from the public. Similarly, the courthouse could be seen as a labyrinth itself, designed to hide Chicago's own criminals, or monsters, that threaten the city's safety, image, and integrity. It is also worthy to note that after his death, Minos became a judge in the underworld for Hades. This idea further shapes the courthouse as a monument of judgment and severity, which is especially captured by the bison heads as they gaze imposingly down upon anyone who enters the building. But beyond myth, the most direct classical inspiration adopted by the courthouse is the pair of eagles carved into its corners. In ancient Rome, the aquila, or imperial eagle, served as a symbol for power and legion. Furthermore, these eagles also feature a panel with the inscription SPQC, a direct play on SPQR, which stands for the Senate and People of Rome. SPQC stands for the Senate and People of Chicago. This comparison between Rome and Chicago is a significantly intentional one, as the Roman Republic prioritized law as a foundation to its state. Marcus Tullius Cicero, one of Rome's greatest politicians, lawyers, and orators, explains in one of his speeches that law is the source of justice. The mind and spirit and wisdom and intentions of the city are all situated in the laws. The ministers of the law are the magistrates, the interpreters of the law are the judges. Lastly, we are all servants of the laws for the very purpose of being able to be free. To summarize, Cicero held the belief that the existence of the courts was unequivocally integral to the Republic's prosperity, and it was this philosophy that Chicago aimed to promote. Upon the new building's completion, Hall was quick to praise its design. In an article for the Western Architect, he wrote that the Cook County Courthouse had only one problem: the care of American court procedure in all of its ramifications. These words reflect his confidence in designing a courthouse competent to not only embody justice, but also to uphold it. And for some time, that seemed to be the case. In May of 1929, Al Capone was arrested on a weapons charge and sentenced to a year in the Cook County Jail. And later, in 1931, he received an 11-year prison sentence for tax evasion. With increasing arrests of gangsters and corrupt politicians during the 1930s, Chicago seemed to be taking back its city. But despite these successes, the Cook County Courthouse has fallen under harsh criticism in recent years for reports of inmate abuse, poor living conditions, and vastly delayed case hearings. Additionally, the local communities surrounding the complex, mostly comprising of minorities and impoverished citizens, have become subject to the court's ineffective bond process, which has commonly been referred to as an assembly line. In response, many locals have strived to raise awareness about this issue. One example is 96 Acres, which aims to humanize inmates of the county jail and to examine the impact that incarceration has had on the surrounding communities. All this said, the Cook County Courthouse is an incredible architectural feat and has been integral to the criminal justice presence in Chicago. But hopefully in time, the courthouse can fix the issues that has drawn it under such controversy so that it may once again fulfill the values that it was designed to represent.